So I've been reflecting a little bit on my financial status over the past couple of weeks because I've been having to work through all of the different finances and the tax stuff, and my tax bill was due and I owed $1,000. If that was just bleeped, it's because we're gonna have a whole video surrounded on that giant tax bill, so stay tuned. Okay, so to kind of put it shortly, last year in 2022, I made $1.2 million net. After all deductions and fees and everything like that, my net to the government was $1.2 million. Now there's some clarification that's needed on that, and that clarification is that I quit my job in April. So I only had April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 9 months. That's how much time I had as a self-employed individual to make money, because for the first 3 months of the year, I was W-2 making $110,000, which, you know, obviously not a small amount of money. So that means in those 3 months, I probably made closer to like 25, 30 grand at my W-2, and the other 1.45 or 1.46 million really came in the 9 months following. As you can imagine, that giant influx of money was really terrifying and scary and difficult to process and awesome and gratifying and satisfying and made me happy and then didn't make me happy, and it's been a whole emotional roller coaster of what is money to me and how do I approach it and what does it make me happier, does it not make me happier. And in going through this journey, I've splurged on a few things in the last year, so I wanted to talk about 10 purchases that I've made in the last year and a half since skyrocketing my personal income, and if they were worth it or not. Cool? I hope that's interesting. If it's not, I'm sorry. If it is, thank you. So coming in at number 1 here, one of the really big splurges that I have decided to spend money on is self-care. And that's just really taking care of myself and spending money on things that I just never would have spent money on, but I've always wanted to spend money on. So things that this includes would be massages. I now have a monthly membership at Hand and Stone. It's like 80 bucks a month, and that gives me one hour massage every single month. That is worth it. That is a splurge I'm happy to have spent money on. Every single time I go, I feel like a new man. And Gerald has the hands of a god. Other self-care things that I've spent money on, my skincare. Well, first of all, Caleb never edited my thumbnails and he just left all my wrinkles. I was like, I don't really look like that, do I? And then he was like, bro, exfoliate.
And you have bad skin. Oh, look, everyone, we're all making observations.
And then someone commented on my channel and they were like, you should take care of your skin more. And I was like, excuse me, but thank you. And I have probably spent in the neighborhood of $600 to $800 on exfoliators and creams and serums and I don't know, baggy eye whatever people put on, and I do it twice a day, and that's not just a splurge on money. Let me tell you, that is a splurge on time. Skincare is very annoying because that takes a long time to do every single day, but I do feel like my skin looks relatively better. Caleb, what do you think? Number 2, this is a relatively big splurge, like a $200,000 splurge. Cars. I bought an Audi e-tron GT, and I also bought a Volvo XC90 Recharge, which is an electric hybrid, but both cars effectively are electric vehicles. And the reason I splurged on them was because they're business vehicles. They weighed over 6,000 pounds, meaning I could write off the entire purchase via Section 179. And because they are electric, I got different federal/state credits and deductions, meaning after all of those different things, I really paid 45 to 50% of the sticker price roughly. I can't remember. I have a whole video on this. You can go see that. And ultimately what that means is that I saved about $100,000 on my taxes. So was it worth it? Ultimately, I'm gonna go yes, in that I got the cars at a discounted rate because of the tax savings. From a happiness standpoint, is it worth it? The XC90, yes, because it's practical. The Audi e-tron GT, I do like the car a lot. I will say it doesn't really make me happier. I probably could have gotten a cheaper car, but then I wouldn't have saved as much on taxes. It was a splurge. It was my dream car. The jury's still out on that one, but if I could go back and do it again, I'm gonna go yes, because I was really looking for the car that would give me the tax break, and so because the net of that came out to $50,000 to $55,000, the happiness I get from that car is definitely a lot more than any other typical $50,000 to $55,000 vehicle. So I think that's fair. I'm gonna go yes on that one. 3, sheets. Ooh, man, I am such a little bitch about my sleeping situation these days. I'm gonna be honest, I spend a lot of money on the most comfortable pillows ever. They're from Bed Bath & Beyond. I think they're called the Carpenter series. The Carpenter model by the Indulgence brand that you can get at Bed Bath & Beyond. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check it out. These are literally, everywhere I sleep is horrible now because of how great these pillows are and how great my bedding is. So not only do I spend 40 bucks on every pillow that I sleep on in my house, but I actually spend a lot of money on sheets too. I've just discovered Brooklinen sheets. I'm not getting paid by this. I'm not a brand ambassador, but my God, the Luxe Sateen model, if you will, that product line on Brooklinen is literally like the softest, most insane insane sheets that my booty has ever touched because I like to sleep in the nude. That's not true.
What are you wearing? What is that, a nightgown?
It's a nightshirt, and that's not the issue.
Let me go ahead and say that bundle of sheets is about $350. I own 2 pairs of them, so I've spent $700 just on sheets, $770 after taxes, plus probably about another $150 on pillows, and then I did splurge on the blankets too. So I'm gonna say I'm about $1,000 into my sleeping situation. Someone once told me that you should never skimp on things that separate you from the ground. Shoes, tires, mattresses, sheets, and pillows. So was that splurge worth it? Ching! Yes, it was. Number 4, MacBook Pro. Okay, this is a good one. I use this MacBook Pro. I have owned this MacBook Pro for about, well, since I quit my job, so about a year and a half, roughly speaking. And when I was looking for things to write off for 2021, I was like, I'm gonna buy the new MacBook Pro, and I'm gonna spend $2,500 on that. And so I bought it in December, and I was like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna upgrade my computer. Oh, and I got an iPad, because I'm gonna use that for a teleprompter. I got these in December of 2021, and as you can see, both are still unopened. So every time Caleb comes here and he's like, bro, why haven't you opened your MacBook Pro? And I'm like, I just hate transferring stuff from one computer to the other. It's like the one thing in my life that I hate more than anything. I'm just like, I don't want to do it. And so that computer will probably stay in that box forever. That was a splurge, a $2,500 to $3,000 splurge. We're gonna go, not worth it. That one, not worth it. Okay, 5, eating to go, going to restaurants every day. Roughly speaking, my wife and I, we spend in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 bucks a day on food. We go out to eat every single day, or we get to go every single day. We have made a rule that we have to be healthy about it these days. So for the most part, even when I'm getting to go, I try to eat the healthier version of it. Looking at my credit card statements, we do spend about $3,000 a month on food, which comes out to $36,000 a year eating in restaurants. Is that worth it? That is a big one. And because I just don't have time to cook and make my own food, I'm just really struggling with time management and scheduling right now. I'm gonna go it's worth it, but I will say it gives you a really weird complex where when you go out to eat every single day, it gets to the point where nothing sounds good because you always get to have the best food. And so whenever you're hungry and you're like talking to your wife, you're like, what should we eat? It's like, I don't know, nothing sounds good. And it's like, ugh. So it is worth it, but it's a habit that I'm gonna be changing, and we are gonna try to have more regimented, like staying at home and eating type of stuff. But for the past year, I'm gonna say it's worth it just from the time standpoint. Okay, number 5, Vibe TV. Can you see this? Yeah, so this thing right here, this was a $2,000 or $3,000, I think this was $3,000 actually. $2,500, we'll call it that. And it allows me to actually write, and it's like a digital whiteboard. Now you could say, hey Rob, why don't you just get a regular whiteboard for $100? And I saw this and I was sold on it. I was like, this is really cool. I actually script out some of my YouTube videos on this. I don't use it nearly as much. I would say I've used it a total of 15 times. 15 times in the 6 months that I've owned it. It is really cool and it's really worth it, I think, for the right person. The thing is, I'm in here by myself every single day. And if I had other people that I was like working with and collabing with, like when other people are here, we write stuff on it all the time. But since I'm in my office by myself 90% of the time, it's just not something that I use. So on this one, I'm gonna go, not worth it. I would not get this again in retrospect. I would take this $2,500 and I would use it to buy food that month, apparently. Okay, ooh, this is an interesting one. Haircuts. I've spent some dough on this. So typically, back in the day, I used to go where they treat you like a king, and that's Sports Clips, where they charge you about 40 bucks for a haircut. And I would go every 2 to 3 months. I just hate paying for haircuts, and it's not that I couldn't afford it, it's just, I don't know, something about that. I've always been so cheap about them, and so even though I had money, I was like, I don't wanna go, I don't wanna spend the 40 bucks. I was like, whatever. So when I moved to Houston, I chose my neighborhood because I wanted to be able to walk to everything, food, drink, haircut. So I found a barber right down the road, and they offered a yearly package, and the yearly package came out to $695. And what that yearly package includes is unlimited haircuts. No matter how many times I want to go, I can go every single day I want, and they will give me a haircut. They will also, once a month, give me a facial, right? Because we know that skincare routine-wise, I'm all there. And then as part of the haircut, they'll also do the shampoo and the conditioning and all that kind of stuff. So that one is expensive, admittedly. Oh no, it was $895. I spent $895 on it, not $695. $695 would have been a good deal. $895. The haircuts there are 50 bucks. I calculated that if I go at least 2 times a month, I will break even. But if I go 3 times a month, I will win. I will beat them. And so far, probably at about 2.5 every month, like 2.5. I'm trying to get it to 3. The self-care, this actually should go in self-care because I feel like a new man every time I get a haircut. I love getting haircuts. I love that interaction. Worth it. Number 8, Rolex. I got a Rolex. I've talked about this a couple times on the channel. I'm becoming a Rolex collector. This is something that I just want to park my money in to at least maintain its value, but hopefully appreciate, which with the models that I'm getting and seeking out from authorized dealers, they should retain their value if I can even get them from an authorized dealer. I will never go out and pay aftermarket price because this right here, this watch is worth more than double what I paid for it. I couldn't do that. I'm too cheap. But knowing that I bought it at retail and I could sell it for double, that makes me feel a lot better. Was it worth it? Well, let me say that every time I make a big purchase, there is a deep level of buyer's remorse that sets in. And so buying the GMT Batman after taxes, everything, it was $11,420. I've owned this now for about a month. Gotta say, no buyer's remorse. I love it. It makes me feel like a classy gentleman. Is this one worth it from a happiness standpoint? This is actually, it's rare for a materialistic thing to make me happy, but I'm gonna say this watch actually does make me happier. This watch, I feel like a man. I feel cool, kids. Moving on, check. Yes, worth it. Next, clothes. So typically, I have been very cheap when it comes to clothes. This is number 9, by the way. I have always just worn like whatever, and then until it had hold or until it didn't fit, and I'd be like, whatever. But then during the pandemic, I got so hyper-focused on finding the most comfortable version of clothes. And so I went all out on athleisure, and I probably spent about $1,000 on so many different types of joggers and nice comfortable shirts. Even my black tee here, like this was my uniform for a long time. I was looking for the most comfortable black tee ever, and so these were like 40 or 50 bucks a piece. And I like them. These are still my favorite black tees. Then I left Tennessee and I wasn't on 52 acres by myself, and I was introduced back into civilization. And I saw that people don't always dress like athletic schlubs, if you will. And so I was like, I shouldn't only wear athleisure. Also, I'm in Texas and it's hot, and athleisure, you know, sweats and joggers aren't really what I'm gonna wear. So all of those clothes I don't really wear anymore. So that just showed me that clothes are a very temporary thing. So I don't know. This is a hard one. It was right for me in that phase of time, and it kept me really comfortable when I needed it to. So worth it there. And then recently, I just bought like a lot of shirts from Bonobos, which is kind of expensive. I will say that after all my returns and everything, probably about 500 bucks for like 6, 7, 8, 9 shirts. I don't know. I bought a lot. I don't typically spend money on clothes, and I don't like that I spent money on clothes because I know that clothes are just such a temporary thing. Like in 3 years, probably none of it will be in my closet, but I am tired of just my presentation, you know? And so I've been working on actively like trying to improve my physical health and skincare and like my overall appearance. And so I'm just like, I want to wear things that make me look good and make me feel good and make me feel confident. So I'm gonna go on the clothes. Worth it, with the caveat that I understand that clothes are kind of pointless, useless, depreciating assets that I won't own in 3, 4, 5 years from now, and they're kind of a waste of money. So I don't know, from a personal preference standpoint, I think it fits me where I am in my life, so I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, sue me, Graham. Sue me. All right, last one. I bought this house that I'm in right now. It's $1 million house. This was a relatively big splurge. Not even the splurge that I'm about to tell you about. I always bought this house with the intention of it becoming an Airbnb. It's gonna be an awesome rental in this part of town. I'm gonna use it for an event space to host very large groups of people and teach them how to start Airbnbs. I don't wanna do it every month and have people come in and just learn the art of Airbnb in person. I'm just trying to increase the interactivity that I have with the world. It's a relatively big splurge there, but it fits this phase of life. But the real splurge is that I'm building a house about 3 minutes away, and that house budget is high. It is not cheap, which is kind of crazy, obviously, and I understand that. But this house is also like my final house, and I can't afford it on my income. You know, if you use the 25% rule, which is like the gold standard for buying homes, if you want to buy a $400,000 house, you should make $100,000. If you want to buy $1 million house, you should make $250,000. So I already feel like based on my income, the 25% rule means that I could afford a roughly $8 million house. I have no intention of ever buying or building an $8 million house because that's just so absurd. Like, I don't even understand how people do that. So I will be fine building a house that will have everything that I want, that will be architecturally significant, and is gonna have like 1,000 square foot dream YouTube studio to help me create all of my content with different sets and conference rooms and a podcasting station, and it's gonna be like a movie set behind me and like a living room. It's really just my dreams coming to fruition. Really, when it comes to splurges and like materialism and things that I buy, like the reason I've kind of done this is I've just really been on a self journey, on this experiment to find out what it is that money does from a happiness standpoint. What do I want? Like, have I struck out here? Has it actually worked for me? And these 10 things I just listed, like, honestly, I don't really need any of it, but I also think it's kind of silly to like make money and then be like, look how cheaply I can live, and I'm just gonna eat like ramen noodles, but I have a big bank account. I'm like, why? I work hard for a reason. Life is short. I've lost people in my life, and that has shown me that life is short. And so I'm not here to be like, look how cheap I can be. For the most part, all of these purchases that I just told you make up such a tiny portion of my income, and the majority of my income goes towards my investments. Like truly, buying real estate. My income goes to that. It really does go to actually fueling my wealth. But I still have to chop off a little to have fun, right? That's what we should do. So all to say, most of these weren't worth it. A couple of them were. So that's it. You guys have a good day. I'm tired. We've shot 7 videos in the last 3 days. I'm gonna shoot 1 more tomorrow. And overall, we're just trying to amp up how much content we put on the Robuilt channel, what kind of content, and hopefully we get to 6 every single month instead of the 4 that you're used to. So if the topics are weird or out of left field, it's because I just want to talk about other stuff sometimes. Cool? What are your splurges? Tell me, what's your one splurge that you don't care if it's stupid or not? You don't have to justify it, but you're like, damn it, this is my thing. Leave me alone. What is that for you? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget, if you're like ever want to get into real estate, if you want to start developing wealth or making cash flow or money so that you can splurge every so often, then consider enrolling in Host Camp, my 12-month mentorship program that teaches you how to start an Airbnb business from the ground up. We really go over the principles of just launching, operating, automating, and everything in between. All right, so you can book a free call with my team over at hostcamp.com. Thanks so much for your time. I'll see you on the next episode of Robuilt. All right, see ya.